guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, if this is your first time joining us, then welcome in general. Today we are going to get back on the 83 Hurst olds and going to try to continue moving forward with some of the bodywork stuff. If you checked out the last video, you saw that we did the rear quarter panel bodywork, so that is complete now. It still needs a little bit of touch up, a couple areas, but for now it is good to go. So we're just going to pretend that this is finished. What we're going to work on this time is the driver's side door. Going to get that hung back on there, and actually I'm putting in a replacement front door. It is a door I had picked up off a guy locally here. Actually bought both passenger and driver's side to replace the original ones from this car that are in horrible condition. So get you spun around here, show you what I'm talking about. So this is the original door. It obviously has a large hole in it. The bottom edges are pretty crusty. It's got stuff starting to come through here. We won't even go into the interior panels on it. Those are bad too, but I didn't get replacements for those. So this is the new door that we're going to be putting on. It is a lot better condition than that one over there. The bottom edges aren't all rusted out. There's a little small areas where there's a little bit of surface rust, just kind of starting, but we're going to wire wheel that stuff and encapsulate it and seal it up. It'll be fine. There is a little bit of damage to the inside here. Looks like somebody has ran multiple random screws through things. A few of the holes are kind of pulled from when they disassembled and removed stuff. We'll address that, but for right now we just want to get this thing hung on the car. Also notice that there is, almost fell, there is some damage around the hinge here, and we're going to try to kind of hammer that out and smooth it up, make it so that things fit properly there. But all in all, this door is a heck of a lot better than what we took off. I have already, and if you saw the last video, you saw this, I have already removed the paint from the front side. I don't know what paint they used to paint this, but it was a nightmare trying to take it off. It was the hardest paint I have ever felt. But although there's no rust, there was some hidden bodywork that was done on it. Again, when we flip it around and put it up on the car, I'll show you that. But we'll kind of time-lapse a lot of it. I just got to pull the hinges off here, bolt them on the door, get the cherry picker around and just kind of hang it up and slide it in and bolt it on, and then I'll kind of show you guys the damage and what we got to do to repair it. So that's where I'm at with things. We'll, like I said, time-lapse it, and we'll stop the time-lapse when there's something significant to mention. so we're skipping forward just a little bit here. I kind of stopped doing stuff and went inside for dinner, and more importantly, Wheel of Fortune was on. So you saw on the time lapse, I was using cherry picker to lift the door up and position it and everything. I don't know how else to do it. I would strongly recommend not trying to manhandle a door into place, because they, even empty, are heavy and awkward as hell. So don't try to do it without the assistance of something, or you're going to drop the door and damage it even more. But anyway, I've got it up in place, kind of. It's not perfect. It's roughly placed right now. So we got it to a point where we can kind of see where we're going to have some issues with it, and some things that need to be addressed. Not a big deal. At least I hope it's not a big deal. We'll find out. But turn the camera around, kind of show you what I'm seeing with it, and what I hope to maybe do to resolve some of the said issues. So here we go. Looking at, I've got it set right now where, like, this top body line that matches up with this one, the door's sitting a little bit high, because once we start putting the windows and the regulator and all the crap in the door, it's going to add weight to it, and it's going to want to sag a little bit. I probably actually don't have it up enough. Now, if you watched some of the other videos, I did a video where I replaced the door hinges on the old doors, or the hinge pins. So that's been taken care of. It's just the natural sag of the door from the weight. But anyway, I've got this up a little bit high right here, and I'm noticing, let me put my leg against this and hold it shut so I can actually point. This gap right here is not matching the body line right here, and I'm thinking we're going to have to do something to address this. And what I'm thinking about doing is just running the welder and just putting a bead down through here, or 2 or 3, whatever it takes, and then grind it down to add material to this door. I don't want to use filler, because I'm afraid that if you use filler, if it gets bumped or whatever, it could chip the filler off, and then it's going to really look like crap. But whatever. Another issue that I'm seeing, and I kind of noticed this when I had it up on the stand, and it doesn't show up on the camera. This corner is bent out a little bit, so it doesn't quite fit right down here. It's pretty close. Won't take much. We'll knock that into submission and everything. There's also some issues with this edge here that we're going to have to kind of tap around on it and get it fixed. Not a big deal. I mentioned that there was damage to the door in here that I found when I stripped all the paint off of it. You can see where they tried to use like a screw-in slide hammer and pull it out. They did not do very well, and they did not fill the holes back in. So I'm going to plug weld all these holes, get rid of them, because I don't know if that's right, but it doesn't seem right to me to leave it like that and fill it full of filler. So we're going to fill those in, and then see if we can massage some of this out, use the weld-on stud puller thing, gun, whatever, and see if we can massage some of it out. You can get around to it on the backside in there with a hammer. We might try to hammer it out, but there's going to be filler there. That's okay. We got good bottoms of our doors that aren't rusty, so that's good. The front edge right here was all beat up. I already kind of did some work on this and tapped it a lot better than it was. It still needs some more work. These doors, the car that I got them off of had those stupid Lambo hinges on it, so the door would pop out and then swing up. And I still have those hinges. If anybody is interested in those and wants a set of Lambo hinges that will fit a G-body, go ahead and shoot me an email. It'll be in the description. But yeah, I still have them. We can get rid of those. and they can go on your hoopty. But anyway, because of that, this door was running into the fenders on the other car, and it's all beat up. But anyway, like I said, got that fairly massaged. So we're going to address all of that. Inside here, just so you guys can see what I was using, these are just motorcycle like tie down straps or whatever. And I've just got them hooked into some holes here. The other one's hooked down around here. And then just brought them up through and hooked them to the cherry picker. And then I adjusted the door by using the two different straps to get the holes to kind of line up. Nothing fancy. I do think I'm going to work on getting the latch assembly in here, and we got to do a little bit of metal massaging here to kind of fix the damage on that. But I would like to get it to where I can actually latch the door shut where it belongs before we start doing too much with the trying to get the gaps right and everything. For those of you that don't know, each door hinge, there's two of them, obviously. Each door hinge has 6 bolts, 3 that go into the body and 3 that go into the door. Your adjustment for the door to bring the back side of the door up and down, so moving the door up and down this way, is going to be made with your bolts that go into the actual body of the car. Your adjustment to make the door go like this, top and bottom in and out, is going to be in your bolts that go into the door. So that's kind of what I forgot to hit the record button and show what I was doing, because when I first put it up, I mean, the door didn't even come close to closing. So I had to fiddle with those and get them kind of roughly in place so it would at least somewhat close. But this is all I'm going to do on this tonight. I'll probably come back to it tomorrow or the next day and start kind of working on some of this damage, and we'll see what we can make happen with it, and hopefully then move along. Next thing would be to get the fender on, but unfortunately my fender is not in that good a shape. If you are in the Iowa, Illinois area, somewhere remotely close, and you have a good pair of front fenders for a Cutlass 81 to 88, send me an email, newcomergarage@gmail.com. It'll be down in the description. I am looking for a set of fenders. Also need a good rust-free trunk lid as well, so if you have one of those. If you are interested, say you've got a car that you are turning into a dirt track car or whatever, and you have good fenders and a good trunk lid, and you are willing to do a partial trade for my old stuff, more than happy to do that rather than have you running good fenders and trunk lid on a car that's just going to get the crap beat out of it. Please let me know. I am definitely in need of those parts. As far as the front fenders, I would like both inner and outer fenders. This car has the inner fenders. My parts car that I have, it's missing the inner fenders. I am not going to use that as a parts car. I want to actually build it, but I do want the inner fenders too. So any of those parts, let me know. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I will bring you back when I start fiddling with this stuff. Next night. I don't have a whole lot of time to work on this tonight, but I'm going to start by going ahead and getting some of the little pinholes welded up that were left behind by the previous person that did body work on this door. And then probably we'll end up tomorrow night stripping out that other door and at least getting the latch and everything out of it so I can get the door to actually latch in place so it's easier to work on without having it flopping all over the place. So we're going to just time lapse it, because all it is all you're going to see is sparks and arcing and whatever. It's not really that much to see, but we'll do that and make some progress here. quote-unquote finished product. All the holes are filled in. They aren't perfect, but they're not giant holes in there. I am going to try to hammer this out from the inside and smooth it out as much as possible. And you can't really see, I don't know if I can aim the light in a way that really shows it, but I mean, basically right through here, it's all low. So, we'll try to hammer some of that stuff out. You're going to have dings and whatnot, and I don't have a problem with using filler on dings. Like I've got a ding right there, that'll get filler, but I'd rather not have this whole section just be mud. If we can massage it out, I would much rather do that. But for right now, that makes me at least feel like I accomplished something for the day, and I can go to bed tonight feeling like I have done something. So we'll hit it again tomorrow, and yeah. All right, guys, so last night I went ahead and started stripping out the old door. I didn't record any of it because it's just a whole bunch of drilling out rivets and everything. It gets real repetitive. But I will kind of show you my plans for remounting everything in the new door. But I'll kind of show you the old door here first, what we've got pulled out thus far, and kind of show you how we're going to remount it all. So this is obviously the old door. Don't mind all of the random tools I've got, but the old motor and everything for the power windows and the lock motor, all that stuff. The bracketry for it is all riveted into these doors. So I went through and kind of ground down some of the rivets, drilled them out, all that stuff. Took out a few of the miscellaneous bolts. This over here is for the window regulator assembly. And you'll see that they've hacked in a couple of holes here so that they had access to the bolts to remove the motor from the actual regulator assembly. I'm not going to drill holes in the new door for access to that because the regulator is no longer going to be riveted into the door on the car anymore, so it'll be able to be unbolted and then serviced that way. The factory door lock actuator is mounted in here, and this is riveted in from the factory. Again, it'll no longer be riveted on the new door, it'll be bolted in. But just a whole bunch of brackets and crap to take out of it, and it wasn't really worth actually recording. Now, in the new door over here, we've already got the latch assembly bolted in place, and I kind of started laying stuff out. The bracket for the door handle is riveted from the factory, so that was all drilled out of the other door. And then we are bolting it into this door, and I've used the, see if I can get a shot of it, the rib nuts in there. The M5 by 0.8 or 0.08, whatever it is. The metric bolts are real close to the same diameter as the rivets, so that's what I went with, because I don't want to have to drill everything out and make it all like something, domestic, like quarter 20 or whatever is significantly larger and unnecessary. So just bought some hardware at the hardware store this morning. Tell you what, good God, you try to support the local guys, but geez, like $18 for a box of M5 bolts. It's a little strong. But anyway, we're going to get this mounted up in there. That way I've got a way to open the door since the latch is in there now. I'm not putting the handle out on the outside just because that's going to get in the way of doing body work. This is another thing, this little pivot for the door lock assembly, that's bolted in now instead of riveted. But I've got the regulator assembly laying in the door. guys, you don't have to cut these doors up and make bigger openings to get everything through. You know, they put this together at the factory through these holes. You can do it at home through these holes. So those of you that I see, you know, I've worked on a bunch of cars where people have hacked open the doors trying to get stuff out. You don't have to do that. It went in there from the factory. So just stop. I'm going to make some modifications to the regulator so that it can be bolted in. I'll maybe record that, but it's just going to kind of be loosely assembling this stuff just so it's in there and doesn't get lost. And then we'll move on to bigger and better things with actually repairing the door. Alright guys, hopefully that last little time lapse showed more than just my back and what I was doing, but I got all the wiring routed into the door here, put everything back through the factory locations into the original clips, and got it all ready to test out and make sure everything's going to work on it. Now, if you're going to do this, you should probably check all of your components first before you put them into the door to make sure everything works. And I did that, but I didn't record any of it. So basically I knew that my power window motor worked because it was working in the original door. But I never knew if the door lock worked because the door panel, the lower portion that holds the switch for the door locks, that had been replaced, and they replaced it with one that didn't have a provision for power locks. So instead of cutting the provision, they just took the wiring and threw it in the bottom of the door and left it chilling out in there. I don't know, whatever. So, like I said, I checked the lock motor, it does work, but now that we've got everything in the door and ready to go, we should probably double check, make sure everything works properly. There's a lot of rollers and a lot of junk with the window mechanism. We want to make sure that that's all in its right place before we hang the window on it and everything. And then make sure that the lock motor functions with a load on it, because doing it on the bench, there's no resistance of the actual lock mechanism. So You want to do it in the vehicle, make sure it's actually functional. So, pretty simple to do. I just rigged up a couple of wire leads on a Milwaukee 18 volt battery. You can use an 18 volt battery for doing this. You know, you're not running it constantly or anything. We're just going to run the window through a quick cycle up and back down. We aren't even going to go full all the way up and full all the way down, just because there's no window on it and the stops aren't all in place. So we don't want to run it off the tracks or anything like that. And I'm not 100% sure if that's even a possibility, but we're not going to risk it. And then your lock, you're just tapping the wire on it to pulse it, you know, each direction. So an 18 volt battery is fine. For the window, the window's ground through this black wire right to the door. So we're just going to clip to the I'll clip to the back side of it because it's hard to get it to sit on the front side. And then when your wires come in here, the pink wire in this 3-wire plug is your positive. So we'll hook it up to that, just kind of hold it in place and give it a shot. Alright, window motor works properly. For the door locks, we've got a tan and a gray wire. I don't know which is which. There is no positive and negative. It actually reverses the polarity of it to make it either pull it down or push it up. So we'll just try 2 of them here. That's lock. And that's unlock. So everything works. The wiring through the door boot is all good. At this point, I'm probably going to go ahead and just hang the window on there so that we have the weight of it, then close the door so that I can actually see what sort of adjustment we need to do with the door, and then we're going to get started on some body work. A little bit of stuff. I did end up hammering out this little section of damage here as best I can, but I'm not going to go too crazy with it because I don't want to not interrupt, but I don't want to kind of mess up the body line here that's actually pretty straight. So we're gonna call it good, slather it with some filler. Did go through and sand all the rest of the paint off the top lip. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but it was still all painted up here. So I sanded all that. Got a couple little dings in here. I am not 100% satisfied with where the door is sitting. I thought it would sag a little bit more with the weight on it. It didn't, so it does need to come down. And when it comes down, or when I adjust it down, I should say, then I'll worry about fixing this body line on the back of the door. Now, I looked at my other Cutlass, and it's not perfect either, but I think we can do a little something to make it somewhat better at least. So I just need to get something done on this, so I am going to work on getting some filler on it, and basically I'm going to stop messing with it before I get to this back edge, because if we're going to address this back edge here, we're going to be welding, and I don't want to be welding with filler on there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to time lapse it because just like my last video where I did the quarter panel, it's a whole lot of putting on mud and then sanding 3/4 of it off and doing it all over again. So time lapse is the way to go, otherwise you'll be watching this for hours. I'm going to put the first coat on, and then I'm probably going to call it a night. It's a school night for me, so not going to be out here real late tonight. So we'll get the time lapse set up, and yeah. around a little bit. Obviously, we're like a week in the future. Whole lot of, layering on filler, sanding it down. Hardest part about doing the door here is you're used to trying to sand stuff flat, but this is a curved surface, so it's kind of a pain. I probably put on more filler and took more off than I really needed to, but I, said it before, I don't know what I'm doing. But kind of skipped recording a lot of it because it's really repetitive. And I threw some primer on it. This whole area that had damage to it looks real good. Seemed to block sand out nice. I'll have to put an actual guide coat on it and, before we do any paint or anything and figure all that out. But sometimes just getting a solid color on it shows some of the imperfections. Like I knew there was a little bit of a dent right up here by the mirror. I had filled it and thought it was good because it was sanding out pretty well. But then once I threw primer on it, it really brought it out and you could see it was still low. So filled that back in, resanded, a couple of little spots back here. Now, the bottom edge here, you'll notice that there's filler all along the edge, but I showed you guys the door before we started doing all this. It's not covering up damage really or rust. It just had, it wasn't flat. And I'm not super concerned about getting this perfect because if we do a legit Hurst Olds paint job on it, technically there was a rock chip paint on the bottom anyway that's going to hide 90% of the imperfections, but I went ahead and did it just in case because I don't know. I haven't made up my mind. I might not ever paint this thing back to the original Hurst Olds colors, or I might do a variation of it. Since the rest of the car's not original by any means, what do we really got to lose? But anyway, I'm at a point now where I'm just going to spray this thing down with primer. Not really a whole lot to see, so I think we're just going to kind of close out the video here. I know it's not, I said it wasn't going to be a tutorial, and I know it's not really, you're not getting like a full-on deal, but same thing I did on the back quarter panel, basically. So we'll figure out where we're going to go from here with it. Got a whole nother side to deal with. I'm not going to record that, but I might throw up a quick video here and there to kind of give you guys an update. My main purpose when I started the channel and kind of recording this stuff was kind of for, documentation of my vehicle. Somebody I was talking to one day was just like, man, how many cars have you had? Because, you don't see them very often. You show up in another different car. And I started counting it out, and I'm 43 years old, and I've had over 40 vehicles. But I don't have pictures or anything for probably 95% of them. So this is kind of my way of documenting vehicles I've had. That, and if I sell this car, I can tell people, hey, go check out, there's basically build videos on the vehicle, so they know what they're getting into. Never try to hide anything when you're selling a car. That's a crooked thing to do. Anyway, so this is the video for now. Make sure you check out the channel, subscribe, like, hit the share button, all that crap. Comment down below, tell me what I did wrong, because I'm sure there's better ways of going about doing this. If you're a body man and you have suggestions, let me know. Yeah, all that good stuff. We will catch you next time.